And welcome to the Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Mary Diaguero. I am a licensed practitioner here. Peace be unto thee, stranger, and enter and be not afraid. I have left the gate open, and you are welcome to my home. There is room in my house for all. I swept the hearth and lit the fire. The room is warm and cheerful, and you will find comfort and rest within. The table is laid, and the fruits of life are spread before you. The wine is here also. It sparkles in the light. I have set a chair for you where the sunbeams dance through the shade. Sit and rest and refresh your soul. Eat of the fruit and drink of the wine. All is yours, and you are welcome. Ernest Holmes, 1926. It is my honor to welcome each of you for our sacred time together. Those of you joining virtually, please say hello in the chat feed and let us know where you are joining from. We are blessed by your presence. Please join me throughout this week for Spirit Calls at 9 a.m. each morning for an inspirational message. You will also receive a daily affirmation by text at 6 p.m. Our theme today is You've Got the Power, as we continue our series of The Way of Transformation. Please join me in speaking our mission statement. We are love in action, transforming lives, transforming communities. Now, let us begin today's precious time together in prayer. I invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that. On this, our first evening, when the darkness now comes earlier, I am aware of the presence of love and light right here. The power that creates the darkness and the light is one. That one is peace, beauty, wholeness, expansion, newness. Yes, ever ancient, ever new. The one is my source and the source of each one here. It lives, moves, and has its being as each of us. It shows up as our voices, our listening, our laughter, whatever is going on in our lives. I bless our time together. I bless and appreciate all who helped prepare this celebration. I bless Reverend Amani and her inspired thoughts in exploring You Are the Power. With deep gratitude, I give thanks, and together we say, and so it is.
Good evening. I'm practitioner Clarissa Crow. We are now going to move into our sacred prayer time, our candle lighting time. So folks at home, please begin to type your prayer requests into the chat feed so that our lovely Linda and Lynn Peavy can light a candle for you. And folks in the room, come on up, guys. If we'll form a line down the center aisle, and come and light a candle for whatever is on your heart that you would like to put into prayer. And if you'd like to speak your prayer aloud, there's a microphone to my left. You can walk over there and you can speak your prayer aloud if you wish.
We are lighting a prayer for Laura Maness.
A candle for Lori Martinez for continued health and recovery.
We are lighting a candle for our beloved Susan Hopkins.
A candle of gratitude.
I'm lighting a candle
Oh, sorry,
in
Jen.
honor, whoops, sorry.
Go, my bad.
I'm lighting a candle in honor of Jim Hobbs and his family. Jim Hobbs was our neighbor. He passed away on Wednesday morning, and he was just a lovely soul. And I know he still is a lovely soul.
We bless you on your way, Jim. I was going to light a candle of gratitude for the new baby of Masando and Rebecca Hiroka that was born on October 28th.
Amen. We are lighting a candle for Tammy Duggan. And
Prayer. Prayer for health for Felicia.
And so for all the prayers spoken and unspoken, for all the prayers we thought of and that we have not thought of yet, for all the prayer requests as we continue our time throughout this week, knowing that we are one with the Spirit, we are one with the divine. We know that as soon as we think that prayer, it is already done as we believe. A prayer request as well, and a candle lit for our very own community as we continue this wonderful adventure of recreating and creating ourselves. For my heart lives within your heart, and our collective hearts are not separate from the divine. I invite you at this moment in time to anchor these prayers of kindness and love and peace and joy with me by saying, and so it is. At this time, I would like to introduce our beloved Jeff, who is doing our sacred reading today.
Hello. It is good to be back, powered up after my little break. And I'm really excited about this theme this week of You've Got the Power, and really can't wait to hear what Mary is going to come up with and in her daily meditations on it. In my reflections on it, I've always really loved the work of Jon Kabat-Zinn, and I knew that there were some nuggets on power that I could unearth, and I found this one which blew my mind because I'm a real fan of the less known side of Albert Einstein, and so this reading today kind of delves into that a little bit, and this is from Jon Kabat-Zinn, and it's on the healing power of mindfulness. Einstein, who in his time saw far more deeply than others into the nature of space and time, matter and energy, light and gravitation, also saw perhaps equally deeply into the blinding effects of desire and attachment, and how important it is to dissolve what he called the delusion of separateness. Responding to a rabbi who had written explaining that he fought in vain to comfort his 19-year-old daughter over the death of her sister, a sinless, beautiful 16-year-old child, Einstein replied, "A human being is part of the whole, called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings, as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for the few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole nature in all its beauty. Nobody is able to achieve this completely, but the striving for such achievement is in itself a part of the liberation and a foundation for inner security. That Einstein, the great physicist, also thought in terms of liberation and inner security is in itself hugely freeing and telling. It underscores how much he felt we are all plagued by the delusion of separation, the separation of me from myself and me from you and I from thou. How much he understood the suffering that stems from it and the need to guard against it by cultivating compassion. He saw in terms of wholes, with eyes of wholeness, and in terms of liberation from delusion. And his response was compassion. Can we ask ourselves to see with eyes of wholeness as well, and be aware of the prisons we create for ourselves and for others through our delusions of separation, when fundamentally there really is none? Can we, as Einstein put it, widen our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature and its beauty? Can we include ourselves in that circle of compassion? Why not? It is a practice, after all, not a philosophy. And that practice is called waking up from the delusions, the fragmentations, the abdications and fabrications of our own misperceptions. It is called freeing ourselves from what appears to be apartness, when in fact, at the deepest levels, we truly belong. We have always been seamlessly woven into the whole, are already at home, here, in this moment, with this breath, in this place.
Yes. In this moment, in this place. Oh, can you hear it? Let's try it again. Yes. Sing it with me. I've got the power. One more time. Sing it like you mean it. I've got the power. Yes. Now, what is this power you've got? It's exactly what Kabat-Zinn and Jeff shared with us from Einstein, to liberate ourselves from the delusion of separation. And this very power, when we release ourselves from this delusion, is how we get in the way, get in the use, get in the juiciness of the power of our wholeness. But one of the things that I know about this power, about like liberating ourselves from this idea of separation, liberating ourselves from this idea that somehow we don't belong, that we don't belong to our own bodies, that we don't belong to this thing called life, that we are somehow separated due to some circumstance, situation, misbelief, and that power is somehow not available to you and I. That when we begin to really confront this feeling of separation, this feeling of not belonging, this feeling of not being othered, this feeling of being othered, all of these delusions, these optical delusions, as not Ernest Holmes, but as our scientist told us, they're delusions. And they're even optical delusions, not just like delusions of misunderstanding, but we literally see ourselves as separate, right? You and I have these separate bodies. You and I have these separate experiences. But when we get ourselves into a conscious relationship with the seamless belonging in this tapestry of life, I love that line, that you are seamlessly woven into the tapestry of the one life. And when you and I get consciously aware of that truth, capital T truth, I've got the power. That's when that happens. That is the power. That is real power. It's really the only power that exists. But one of the things that I also know is that these seemingly realities, these optical delusions, they limit what we believe is possible. They limit what you think is possible in your own power and what you have access to. And so in an attempt to liberate ourselves from this delusion, in attempts to become more in alignment with the power that is our birthright as divine human beings, we have to be willing to stretch the idea of what's possible. We have to be willing, you and I have to be willing to go beyond what we know, to stretch your inner idea. Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, our teaching, says when we are consciously centered in the universal flow, we experience inner direction and the unfoldment of creative activity. But he goes on to say, is that inner direction, that inner idea is created through our experience and understanding. So if your experience and understanding is one of lack, and your experience and understanding is one of I don't belong, your experience and understanding may be one of I'm not good enough, I'm dumb, I'm not smart enough, I don't have resources, I have generational poverty in my experience. Whatever your experience and understanding is the ceiling of what you believe is possible. But how do we break the ceiling? How do we shatter the ceiling of what we believe is possible? One of my favorite ways to do that is I have been curious my whole life. I don't ever remember not being curious about other people's situations. I was always fascinated with people that seemed so different than me or seemed to be having experiences so different than mine. And so I was always paying very close attention. And I realized as a young adult that part of what I was doing was stretching what I knew as possible. By looking around me and going, wow, they are having a totally different experience. They're living in a neighborhood that I didn't even know was a thing. They are having an experience of relationship and love and pleasure that I didn't even know was a thing. And so I busied myself with finding out about these other ways of being, with finding out about these other possibilities. And what I experienced as a result of that, and to getting in relationship and proximity to these other ways of being, was that what I understood as possible for myself grew. My inner idea expanded. And this is only one way to begin to do it, but I think it's a really valuable way, especially in this time on our planet, in our country. To busy yourself with other people's experiences that may be wildly different than yours. Because what I know, it's not about just busying yourself so that you can practice compassion. It's about busying yourself with other people's experiences so that you can grow. It's not about what you may be able to give or offer to somebody else, but in that relationship, in that proximity to something outside of your experience, you get stretched. This is a pathway to liberation from the delusion of separateness, which is one of the great barriers to the experience of abundance. Any way that we see ourselves separate from life itself, separate from the whole, means we have now limited the experience that is possible for ourselves. I see you staring at me. Beloveds online, give me a thumbs up if you're with me. Are you with me? Yes? Everybody looks like they're in very deep thought right now. Okay. So let's go over it again. The experience of abundance that every single one of us wants to have, whether that is an abundance financially, an abundance in love and relationship, an abundance in a sense of freedom of our time, whatever abundance you seek, a greater experience of abundance that you might be seeking is limited by what you believe is possible. And specifically, what you believe is possible for you. Because I don't know about you, but I have had many experiences in my life where like, yeah, they get to have that, but do I get to have it? One of my favorite lines in my 20s was, do girls like me get to have that? Super fundamental belief I walked around in. And it was in getting myself into proximity with other people who were having whatever that is that I thought I didn't get to have, that I believed more fully that, oh, maybe I do. Maybe girls like me do get to have that. And when you and I have any experience of girls like me or them, any experience of a delusion of separation, you and I then have a limited experience of aliveness, a limited experience of possibility. And so as a spiritual practice, rather than maybe meditating on expanded consciousness, which is an option, maybe the practice is about getting yourself into proximity to people and experiences that are outside of what you believe is possible. Yes? Okay, I see head nodding. Okay. Beloveds online, thumbs up if you are with me. Because in this idea of what is possible in the mind of God, there is no limitation. Right? There is the concept, the spiritual concept of infinite supply. Well, that's a giant concept. And for those of us having a human experience, having the experience and idea, the inner idea of infinite supply, that's a big ask. It's a leap. It's in all the holy texts, like, just get in relationship with the infinite. Just know yourself as one with the one. Anybody do that today and have an entirely different life experience? No hands? Anybody online? So I am offering a right now practice for you to become more one with the one, to become a place where the infinite supply can flow through. And we're only going to get so far by reading sacred texts and sitting on our meditation cushions. I believe we've been put on this planet in these bodies in this human form together on purpose. I don't believe God was ever confused about that. I don't think the nature of reality in this material realm is an accident. I think you and I are here in these fleshy, beautiful bodies of ours so that we can have the experience of oneness, the experience of infinite supply. But if we think we're going to get there from a page in a book, we're going to keep nodding at each other going, that's a lot to think about. Anybody more interested in having the experience of infinite supply? Yes. Anybody interested in having the experience of connectedness and wholeness and being a seamless thread in the fabric of life itself? Right? Which means we have to open ourselves, our bodies, our hearts, our minds, our feelings to the fabric of life. We have to allow ourselves to be completely present to this aliveness that we've been gifted with. This aliveness is here so that we can have all of those incredible experiences of wholeness, of oneness. But we're not going to get there head first. We're just not. And I believe right now, in this moment on the planet, one of the most powerful ways for you and I to begin to experience a bigger inner idea is through our relationships with one another. Is to get curious about each other's experiences, to get curious about the places that you are having an inner idea that is really different than mine, to get curious about the ways that you are experiencing joy that I may never have conceived of, and to allow our wildly different ideas and experiences to inform us, to form us inwardly. Because I'm going to come back. It is the inner direction and unfoldment of creative activity that centers us and allows us to experience the universal flow or infinite supply. But what are you allowing to transform, mission of our community, your inner experience? I was talking earlier in this series about if you only eat bread, you will be malnourished. Yes? So what are you bringing into your consciousness, into your proximity, that is helping to inform your inner idea? How much time are you spending on social media? A lot of time. I know, because I see y'all on there. I know you are. How much time are you watching, listening to, engaging with the news? I know some of you are like obsessive about it. And some of you don't do it at all, which is another kind of problem. Because the other way we limit ourselves is spiritual bypass and denial. But I want you to begin to assess what it is you are in proximity to that is informing your inner experience, that is informing your thinking, that is informing your belief. Are you just eating junk food? Are you just consuming negativity? Because all that we allow into our experience, whether it's been invited or not, will inform our inner idea, which then begins to inform what it is you and I create in this life. And I think one of my favorite things that I have learned recently, I've been doing a lot of study with other teachers, and Rev Angel Kyoto Williams recently said in a class to me, everything you have in your life is the exact material you need for your own liberation. I was like, I'm gonna have to walk around with that one for a minute. So what you're saying is every experience, situation, social location, heinousness, yuckiness, beautifulness is the exact material I need to craft my own liberation? Damn. So you mean I can't go and turn in some of my stuff for somebody else's stuff? But here's the thing, I have some agency about how I allow that into my inner experience. Whatever that material is, I have choice about what I believe about that material. I have choice about what I take in and invite for dinner and what I send on its way. But in order for you and I to begin to have more agency and choice and get into the power that is ever available in our divine natures, we have to get honest about, okay, what am I in proximity to? What am I allowing in? And how am I responding to that? I'm going to ask you to think about your relationships for a minute. So just take a moment. And I want you to think about, who do I surround myself with? Who do I invite into my inner circle and allow to be a part of what is informing my inner life? Because you and I have choice in all of these matters. And you and I have to begin to not only bring the consciousness of our own inner world to light, which is a huge part of our practice, huge part of the process, but you and I must begin to get an honest conversation with ourselves about the ways we are in proximity to the outer life. And the ways that we are responding to the outer life, whether those are our beloveds we have in our inner circle. How are our boundaries looking? We're getting ready to move into that holiday time, yes? Maybe spending time with people we don't normally spend time with and maybe having some feelings about that. Knowing we're going to be in proximity maybe with somebody that we don't prefer to be in proximity to. Or maybe being in proximity in a relationship that is really life-giving, that we don't give ourselves more time to be with. But to have honest, eyes wide open, take the blinders off assessment. It's like, what am I in proximity to? What am I letting in? How am I responding to what I'm letting in? Have I circled myself with folks who can absolutely mutually worship with me? Am I circling myself with folks that I feel like I am constantly navigating? Anybody have relationships in their life where they feel like they're just people I have to navigate? I see heads nodding. Maybe there's something that could shift about that. And it might be an inner shift, it might be an outer shift. Might be both. But allowing ourselves to just be in relationship with like I've got the power. So if I've got the power and I want to have access and agency and allow myself to more consciously experience the power of being in divine flow, what am I willing to be more conscious of and busy with to give myself more of that? To give myself a bigger inner idea. Because when I have that bigger inner idea, I get to create bigger life. A more abundant aliveness. But we have to get real with ourselves. You have to get real with the places that you are limiting your own ideas, including the ones that you inherit socially. There may be ideas that you've inherited about your skin color, your gender, your age, your whateverness, that you get to get in real relationship with. That you get to decide that I am going to no longer be in delusion about things that maybe I inherited that are simply untrue. I'm going to busy myself with more truth. I'm going to move myself away from what is untrue. I am going to respond to some of those things that keep trying to be handed to me by saying, no, thank you. No, thanks, I'm good. Like literally, no, thank you, I'm good. and get into prioritizing your own power. Your own power that has been divinely given with the breath in your body and your aliveness. The power of what it means that you belong. You have never not belonged to this one holy, blessed life. And that you get to be present to that. You get to be conscious of it. And that is what gets to be created from that inner idea. But if your inner idea is wrapped up in a whole bunch of shiznit out here that is untrue, your inner idea is limited. What you create, what you believe is possible, is limited. I want to go on to share from Creative Mind and Success. Let anyone break the bonds of this false sense of life, and they at once begin to express less and less limitation. It is a matter of the growth of the inner idea. He goes on to say, but few people in limitation have a mental likeness of plenty. This likeness must be provided. And I feel like this is a really important thing in the new thought, science of mind, unity world, is that when you have a limitation in your belief, in your inner idea, a mental likeness to something greater needs to be provided. Following? Which brings me back to getting yourself in proximity to ideas and inspiration and people and experiences that can provide you with a bigger idea. That can inform, that can begin to shape and stretch and expand and grow your idea of what is possible. And I think it's a humbling thing. It's a humbling thing, especially for those of us with more privilege, maybe than others. It's a humbling thing to accept that, you know what, I need a bigger idea to be provided. To get honest with yourself and say, I might not have the greatest, biggest idea on this. I may be bumping up to my own limitations. And I am going to allow myself to be vulnerable and open and move in the world, curious about ways I could break through my own limitations, my own misunderstandings. And what better place to take those risks than in spiritual community? With folks who are willing to mutually be vulnerable, to mutually express the places where they may be feeling limitation, and to, my favorite thing I learned recently from Adrienne Marie Brown, is this concept of mutual worship. That our inner circle and that our relationships and the people that we give our time and presence to deserve to be connections that are mutually worshipful, that make room for your wholeness, that celebrate your wholeness, and that relationships where people are bringing their wholeness to you, that you get to celebrate and be curious and in awe of. I can't think of a better way to get into a bigger, greater, expanded idea of your wholeness than to allow yourself to be celebrated for exactly who you are. And to use this understanding of your belonging, of your inherent belonging to the oneness, to give you the agency to be at choice about who you get in proximity with, about what ideas you allow into your consciousness, but allowing only from the place of knowing the truth of who you are, which is you have always belonged, you will always belong, because you, my friend, are divinely made. And any idea, person, relationship, circumstance that is out of alignment with that truth, psh, bye-bye. That's how powerful you are. That is your birthright. That is how you actively get in the business of liberating yourself from delusion. Is to be your greatest advocate. To work from that place that knows that it knows that it knows you are divinely made. Does that feel like power? Doesn't it? Is anybody a little bit excited about some of this? Good. Let us know online, beloveds. Give us a thumbs up. I didn't hear. Somebody was talking to me. Out the door. Out the door. Bye-bye. And of course, I have homework for you. I want you, and maybe you can even start right now. I want you to begin to think about a person, a situation, an inspiration you can find now that might grow your idea, that might grow what you believe is possible. Anybody thinking of anything right away? Okay, this is good homework then. Beloveds online, if you've got someone in mind or some experience or inspiration in mind, put it in the chat for us because it might work for somebody else. But this is what I want you. I want you to busy yourself, actively engage your thinking and your day-to-day life with the idea, what might stretch me into greater possibility, might grow my inner idea of what I believe is possible. And then get yourself in proximity with them or that. Deal? All right, let's pray it in. What I know is that this infinite, holy, blessed one is the greatness that you and I are made of. The infinite of this holy, blessed one is beyond any edges that we can even conceive of, in all directions, seen and unseen. And that the power of this infinite nature is one that you and I can get in the way of. And that this power is the only true power. And that you and I have access to it right here, right now, because you and I are made from this powerful stuff. And this inner idea that is growing right now in your being and my being, in the very being of the one, is growing you into greater possibility, is growing you into greater experiences of love and connection. It is growing you into greater accesses to resources you may not have had before. It is growing you into a greater loving understanding of your nature. And for every little molecule of expansion and love and understanding that you experience, you in turn bring that to life itself. And bam, we've changed the world. That is how powerful you are. That is how powerful God is. And I know with deep and profound gratitude that it is moving right now, showing the way, being the way of more love, more beauty, more harmony, more joy, more peace for each and every one of us in life itself. So with profound gratitude, I let this be as it continues to move and do its thing. Anchor it with me in prayer by saying amen. And so it is.
Ready to sing? anchor this even more deeply with a song. We're going to put the lyrics on the screen behind us if you want to turn around and see the words. Some of you might remember and know this one. Recording quality is not amazingly good, so I really want to hear you guys sing. Let's sing over the recording and hear our beautiful voices.
God is my source.
God is my power. God gives me everything I need.
So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need.
So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source, everything I need. Sorry, we're already at the end. God gives me everything I need. Woo! Thank you. And thank you, Dean and Joylyn, for holding high watch for us today.
Everything I need, everything you need, you are already plugged into the source. And what I know about the source is that you and I are the source and resource for this community. And one of the ways that you can resource this community is through your financial contributions. There are many ways to give. You can text to give, click to give, and pick to give. There are cash and check opportunities to give out in the lobby for those of you who are in the room this evening. But Jeff and I are here to tell you about other ways you can give. That you and I are the hands and the feet and the muscles of this community.
Yeah, and since coming into this new space, we're kind of inventing and figuring out ways that we can, use our volunteers. So if you're interested in volunteering in any way here, you can go onto the website. There's a center team interest form and fill that out. And we're going
the next steps button.
In the next steps section of the website, and we're going to be having conversation with you about different ways that you may want to help with some of the new teams that we're putting together now that we're imagining ourselves being in this space. So I welcome those conversations, and there's also a sign-up form on the table outside just to get your name and number on there. And so there will be, we're going to be having our monthly potlucks, and there's going to be different ways to get involved. So get into conversation and we will put you to work.
Yes, so for those of you ready to dive in and go a little deeper with being a source in this community, sign up in the lobby for those of you in the room. And as Jeff said, for those of you online, you can go to the website abqcsl.org and click next steps and you'll find the center team interest form. Thank you all so very much. I'm going to bring Mary Diaguero back up to send us on our way.
That word proximity is staying with me. So we have a few announcements. Please visit us at abqcsl.org to view our calendar of events and find all the ways that you can join us. Please sign up for our newsletter and to receive daily morning spirit calls and evening affirmations. You are also invited to go to the About Us section of our website to choose a practitioner to pray with you. If you would like our practitioners and ministers to hold you in prayer during this week, please email your prayer requests to prayer@abqcsl.org, or fill out a prayer request form in person at the table just outside the sanctuary. Please join us for a community potluck Sunday, November 27th, in the social hall directly after our gathering. And if you are new to the community, we also invite you to a new member orientation that evening as well. Let's have some fun together. You can join that membership class on Zoom or in person. And details are in our weekly newsletter. And please join us this Friday at 5:30 p.m. in the Memorial Hall for our Art of Prayer and Practice. Now, please join me in today's affirmation, which is back on the wall. Today, I embrace the power of love and grace as the power of my life. It's been a joy being with you. And now, please join us for our closing song. Back there. I'm living in love, I'm living in peace, I'm living my life for what I believe, through joys and through tears. In this world I walk, God's grace shines on me, and it shines on us all. We are living in grace. We are living in grace. We are living in grace. We're living in love. We're living in peace. United we stand as one family. We honor all truth as together we walk. God's grace moves through me, and it moves through us all. We are living in grace. 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 Thank you all so much. Have a beautiful week. We love you.